keeping me alive, though I don't know why. No carpets on these floors. My cup isn't empty, it's bone dry. I'm killing time and nothing more. Today's like tomorrow, yesterday's the same. They won't let me smoke anymore. The TV's all local, the food is awful. Some medicines are fun, more. They're keeping me alive, though I don't know why. No carpets on these floors. My cup isn't empty, it's bone dry. I'm killing time and nothing more. How will you test? Will you take the chemo? If you went through a 2, what for? What about the boy? Have you made a decision? Some have less time, some have more. I know we made mistakes, and I'm sorry for them. There's no room in this world for someone like him. The world keeps getting fuzzy. Where's your mother? Oh yeah, she left at 74. She couldn't understand. Not that I blame her. Something kind of second.
So now in theory, we're recording to the cloud, and I hope this works because I've had too many mistakes with this so far. If you guys are confused, guess what? Your teachers are twice as confused. All right, so I'm going to share my screen, which was the problem I was having last time. So I show my desktop. I pop in here to our images. All right, going all the way back to here. Okay, so I've had you guys doing figure drawing assignments, gesture sketches. Now our next set of gesture sketches, I want you to focus on finding poses that will work well for a scene. What do I mean by scene? Well, we're in lockdown, right? We're setting a scene. There are places that we miss going where human beings actually were, even if we don't like human beings. I enjoy sitting in the theater watching a movie, which is not something I can feel safe about doing at the moment. I love going to concerts, musical, love going to comedy shows. That stuff to me was a lot of fun. Even a bowling alley once in a while could be some chuckles. So what I want you to do is think about drawing a scene where the area is important, but the figures help tell the story. This is an illustration from my book number 3. There's a character up close. He's probably taken up 20% of this image. That's going to be important for you because you want somebody up close and you want other things in the background. This creepy guy here is the worst character I've ever created because you have to write words on him because he's made out of paper. This guy looks fairly normal, but he's dressed like a 1950s English punk. Yes, that's how they dressed. And then this guy's a robot, so his expressive qualities are not particularly there. We want to try to stick with humans. Now, there's not a ton of people in here. Technically, there's 2 human-like creatures, one non-human and one that is a geometric ball. But this is a good way to think about it. You know, maybe your scene's going to take place in a restaurant, and there'll be a waitress dropping a tray while somebody looks surprised, and somebody else is on their cell phone, and then 2 couples are staring lovingly at each other, or maybe one staring lovingly at one, and the other one's checking out the waitress. I don't know. You're going to tell a story with your scene. Now, just an FYI, especially for those people who are doing going into illustration, it takes me about a week and a half to 2 weeks to ink any of these because they're roughly 18 by 22 inches. So they're big illustrations. I did a really horrible background on this. I mean, ungodly bad background. So much that I ended up, after I scanned it into Photoshop, I erased the background and then drew these rhinos on a separate piece of paper altogether and then superimposed them in my background. I did that because I did not want to spend another 2 weeks redrawing this entire thing, especially when you got that many words. Are there any mistakes? Yeah, look at that arm. I should have taken care of that before I published it. So you got to keep that kind of thing in mind when you're doing illustration. Sometimes you're going to have to make calls where you're like, how can I do this well and yet save a bunch of time? And that's how I solve that problem. All right, so you're going to do another series of 10 figures, but you have to figure out what you need for the scene. What is the pose going to be? Here on the left, you see one of my more thought out pre-sketches. I probably looked at an actual top of a battle cruiser, at least for that gun turret. Drew it a little sloppy. Those gun barrels look a bit on the made out of cheese side of structure. But if you look, there's one character, two character, three character, and implied fourth. There's the main guy over here, 5 and 6, with a ton of birds. Now, I decided she needed to be more fully drawn out to get the true essence of the fact a bird hit her in the face in the story, and to get that more dynamic pose. Here she's sad. Here you can really tell that whatever happened to her hurt. All right. The other guys are relatively the same. His pose changed greatly because they're flying into a battle. He's rushing off here to do something. What? And he's already on a ship. It's heading toward a battle. He's not going to help these guys. He doesn't really care about her, at least not in the books. So I basically made him ignoring her. And I felt that was more important for the story to play out there with that as an illustration. Plus, I added 2 more people over here on deck guns. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people altogether. All right. Your limit is going to be 7 at the least. You can do more. I suggest you do more if your image warrants having more people. And I'll show you ways to fake people in a second or two. All right. Here's what I want you not to do. There is no background in here. All right. While we have a well-drawn king and queen of Rebos, we have him taking up almost 30% of the image with a close-up of him screaming and running away from these puzzle men. And we get a rather sexy version of the queen running away. The background doesn't lend to any sort of descriptive sense of this image. Now, if you read the book, you'd realize they're in the training room. Your mind would fill in the rest. But as an actual image, the setting is not in here. And I want the setting to be important. How important? Well, it's like setting a scene in a movie. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the movie Ultraviolet with Mila Jovovich. That is a movie where their budget must have been so low that there is very little background in the fighting scenes. I mean, nothing. It could have been filmed on a set in a warehouse, because it looks like it was filmed on a blank set in a warehouse. Like there isn't even warehouse in there. It's just blank. So setting can be really important. Now, in this pre-sketch, I have her sitting on what's supposed to be a smash car. Obviously, I drew this really quickly. And her body doubles, because she can create doubles of herself, are coming up to her. This scene looks too contemplative. All right? These figures aren't expressing anything. So what I did was I showed the same scene 15 seconds later, where she has downloaded all the memories that were wiped from her, and her robot-like body starts to reject what would basically be the truth about what happened. Now, all of her body doubles are reacting. One's looking at the hand, wondering if she'll cease to exist because they form out of the area around them. This one here is just startled. These two look very concerned. This one, I don't know what's going on with that one, not too much. This one's running in panic. This one's almost, slack. This one's ill. This one's having a headache. So overall, I think there were 38 fully drawn or partially drawn characters of Brandy in this. That's her name, is Brandy. and I think there's 29 silhouettes. Now, silhouettes are a great way to add a sense of more people and a great way to finish up a background. Plus, this is supposed to be at night, so I went real heavy with solid darks here, and that helped with the lights coming out of her eyes. All right. Boy, I really need to get a better photo of that. Okay, let's compare and contrast these two. These are scenes where Brandy decides to kill a couple people that Traven has brought into the gateway. Her goal is actually to kill all 4 that he's brought in, but he's having issues with that. On the left, I don't like his pose. Doesn't seem as energetic as it does on the right. Her pose on the left seems like she's going oogie boogie. It doesn't seem like she's basically going, this is my body. This gateway is me. You cannot bring these, magic users in here. So I wanted a more standoffish pose. Here she could even be in the moment of about to attack the keeper, which wouldn't make any sense because she's bonded to him. If he dies, she explodes. So I had to change it up. Now, in all honesty, I think the picture on the left has better contrast, more darks and lights. And unfortunately, it's published, not the one on the left, the one on the right. So there's nothing I can do about that now. But the one on the right has better figure poses. Even the dead guy hanging from one of her tentacles looks more believable as a dead guy, caught in just that moment of, oh, I'm done for. All right. The body of the woman in the wheelchair on the lower right also looks far more realistic than the one on the left. All right. So you need to really kind of think out and plan out your backgrounds because they are imperative to you telling this story. A couple other quick ones. The background here of the ship. I really need to put in some sky. Maybe one of these days I will finish this. But remember, at least 7 figures. I've only got 3 humans and 1 giant Comac, which is a bat bear, in this image. All right. Other places, bars, restaurants. I think I may have said that already. Playgrounds. Anywhere you can think to set your image. Now, this is where silhouettes go in to help make that concept of a crowd. You got 2 up front, my main character, and the former keeper of the gateway, or at least that's how he appears now in the current keeper's head, is a skeleton of the lizard creature he was. You see all of the children that he thinks he may have killed. All right. Not the first keeper, the current one. So figure wise of flushed out figures, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. In the background, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have basically 20 characters on here, with 11 of them being drawn out and 9 being just little shadows to help fill in the crowd. And this is this discussion about how, the kid never wanted to be this that he's turned into. He never wanted to have to kill anybody. And now his count's incredibly high. But the former keeper is assuring him that his count is higher, and the keeper in between the 2 of them's count is astronomical. So it's really becomes a battle of, lesser of evils here. All right. If you complain about your 7 figures that you have to draw, I'm going to have you do a picture like this, because that took me about a month. And I will tell you, as bad as it is to draw the guy who's made out of paper, drawing that stadium is even worse. Because after a while, you're like, I don't know how to make that anybody look different. They all look like the same thing to me. Yeah, so you have 5 main figures, although this guy's hiding a little bit. And then you've got probably 1,000 other little tiny figures. If you want to do that, that's totally cool. All right. Other ways to use silhouettes. Here they are watching two different giant screens. This crowd, they're watching the battle from afar, and you have really three, although this one's implied, 1, 2, 3 characters on the screen. Then you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, which means about 8 kind of fleshed out. And then you have 100 and something little shadows. So that's a great way to show and fill in your background. All right. The one thing I don't want you to do, even though the inking in here is great, this is one of my favorite drawings I've ever done. Absolutely no background. Background is key. You can have characters closer and farther away. You can even fill up like 80% of your paper with characters or figures. But you got to have some background in here. And this one fails at that completely. So while it's a wonderful drawing, it's not what we're attempting to do. All right. So remember, background is important. All right. I'm going to stop my share. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me email wise or talk to me when we're in Zoom. All right. Hopefully our site, your Canvas site is finally up. There are finally things in it. So please check it out. And as always, stay out of trouble. If you can't stay out of trouble, don't get caught.